I will preface by saying there is no shortage of qualified American IT workers. I am one of them. I worked for AT&T for 23 years. Our department was targeted to be outsourced to IBM in 2000. I received stellar appraisals throughout my career. I also met my husband of 22 years at AT&T. My positions were production support, systems engineer, business and process analysts, and project manager. In 2001, we were instructed to perform a knowledge transfer to the Indian team due to the company downsizing their U.S. workforce. We were told that in order to receive our severance, we were required to train the foreign H-1B temp workers. In 2003, my manager called me into his office and informed me that I had 30 days to find a job. Our positions were being outsourced. In March 2003, I was let go. It was devastating news, and I fell into a deep depression for which I am still in therapy for. Finding another permanent position was virtually impossible. 6 months after I was laid off, my husband, also an IT professional, was let go. In an instant, 2 salaries disappeared. We struggled to pay our bills. Our credit rating dropped significantly. It was difficult to pay our mortgage, so we inquired with our bank, who suggested a loan modification program. Needless to say, this program added an additional $30,000 to the back end of our 30-year fixed mortgage and didn't provide any substantial relief. We both had excellent credit until the outsourcing happened and we lost our jobs. Both our unemployment benefits were exhausted after 26 weeks, not nearly enough of a benefit to locate a technical position, and we began noticing an influx of South Asian workers entering the workforce. Very young males, predominantly with very limited experience. Both husband and I began to notice that the consulting companies we started receiving calls from were all Indian companies. Our rates dropped significantly from $90 to an hour to $40. Desperate to generate income again, we were left with no other choice but to accept a much lower rate. Additionally, our health insurance premiums through the agencies were very expensive with limited benefits. Sadly, we also had to pull our son out of college as we couldn't afford it. Again, devastating for 2 professionals to have to endure this madness through no fault of our own, but merely corporate greed. In 2014, I landed another contracting position with an Indian-based company. I was hired because I had vast experience and knowledge in the projects AT&T contracted this company with. We were a team of 10 Americans, and we worked well together with 0 defects. A year went by, and we started to be asked to knowledge transfer. Sadly, I knew what that meant, so we trained the freshers for 3 years. Once the Indian teams were trained, I slowly began to see my team being let go, one by one. The nepotism I witnessed is shocking. We never received a bonus or salary increase or praise, but the Indian managers and workers would receive praise on a daily basis. We were told to be happy we have a job. The Indian managers had no prior experience. On numerous occasions, I overheard the Indian managers threatening the H-1B, telling them they needed to work more hours to get the job done, or else they will be sent back home. I was shocked. They work 60 to 80 hours, but only paid for 40. In some instances, I witnessed the Indian male managers pressuring the female Indian workers to not only do their job, but also that of the managers. In July of 2018, I was the last American to be let go, to the dismay of the AT&T manager I worked closely with. I haven't been able to land an IT position since then. We are so worried and stressed since my husband is also a contractor, not by choice, and not sure when his contract will end. And then the cycle of finding another IT position within Indian consulting companies is virtually impossible. I witnessed a situation where the company needed an IT project manager. I know of at least 10 unemployed, talented American project managers. I gave my company those people's names. They also possessed PMP certifications. Instead, they flew in an individual from India who had no certifications or prior experience, but he was Indian, and it seems that's the trend. I submit for jobs that are perfect fits. The Indian consulting agencies ask me to submit my resume, and I never hear from them again. How does one reinvent at this point of our lives? How do we afford to pay for college again in a new field? Difficult, if impossible, to be hired in a new field without prior experience. A financially crippling domino effect happening across our country to Americans. I can count twice on both hands my American peers who have been unemployed. There is a mass corruption and abuse occurring within these corporations, and our senators and Congress are allowing the annihilation of American livelihoods by the thousands. It needs to end. Americans and the rest of the world are being prohibited from employment in lieu of hiring H-1B regardless of skill set and experience. The American dream for Americans has become an American nightmare. Peers are forced to tap into their 401k with penalties to survive. Not the American way. Please close the loopholes and enforce laws. Create new ones to protect Americans who are being replaced in lieu of cheap foreign labor who refuse to hire any other nationalities but South Asian. Thank you so much for your time.